working. The coffee is, oh, right here. Don't worry. There's, oh, ew, that's. So I got my, I mentioned there's the Mac OS update this year. It adds support for using your camera or your phone as a camera. So I'm trying that out. It's very exciting. So you can see my super awesome camera mount here is up on my monitor. But yeah, so hopefully this works. It has some cool tricks, like it follows you around and stuff. So maybe I'll turn off that blur thing. That looks weird. Oh no, it's not that one. It is. Okay. So how's everyone doing? Let me make sure one other thing too. Do I have? Yeah, okay. Cool. How was dinner? I hope it didn't make you eat fast if you said you were just starting. Well, I guess that was 20 minutes ago. That's a reasonable time to eat dinner. A reasonable amount of time to eat dinner in. You have anything good? Like, okay. Yeah, it seems like, yeah, folks are here. First off, if anyone hasn't seen the chat, I apologize if there was confusion this morning. I totally didn't think about the fact that time changed here in the US this last week. So, I thought it was like, oh, you can see up here in my, it's only 9:39 a.m. And usually I start at 10 a.m. local time. So it totally slipped my mind that time wouldn't change for other people in the same point. I should know that. As I've mentioned, my girlfriend's from Poland, and they switch time also, but it's like 2 weeks after we do it here in the U.S., so it's very confusing. I assume other countries switch at other times, and it sounds like Russia doesn't switch, I guess you were saying. So much confusion, but in the future I'll keep these at the same UTC time, so I'll start them at 9 a.m. my normal time. But yeah. So, and oh no, hello. It's always like the random hello that pops up. So yeah, it seems like it switches for some people and it doesn't switch for some people. But anyhow, also if any of you saw from Office Hours chat, kind of don't have a huge agenda today or anything either. Basically, I'll talk a bit about what I've been working on. So, as many of you know, there's like the V2 accounts, which are like new accounts in the game that they're using a completely different server, and that will be used for all the cool new features like the squads based matchmaking and stuff like that that's coming up, as well as things that we have like the workspaces and the cloud console where you can basically connect to your game and enter Python commands and stuff like that. Like all of that is built around V2 accounts. So the thing I've been working on this last week is making Google Play logins work with V2 accounts. So, up until now you've had to go in and create a special account in the game. You go to ballistica.net. If you're not signed in here, it lets you make an account like using an email and password or whatnot. But that shouldn't be necessary for most people. Like most people playing the game, they're just automatically signed in with, if you're playing on Android, you're automatically signed in with your Google Play Games account. And so I want that to support like all the cool stuff here, like the devices and workspaces and all that. So that's what I've been working on, which has been a decent amount of work because Bomb Squad's been around for a while. So it's Baby Pascal. Yes, I need to do Baby Pascal. But yeah, Bomb Squad's been around for a while. So when I initially wrote like the Google Play sign-in stuff, it was like 2013, and so I was using like probably a very early version of like Google's libraries for doing all that stuff. So like if you come Google it and just do like Google Play Game Services, this is basically what it's doing. So this is the stuff that Google provides for if you want your game to be able to like log in with your Google Play Games account. You have to like use these libraries and integrate them with the game. And so I did that like back, as I said, like back in 2013, but they've since like completely redone the library a few times, I think. So as part of this, I'm coming in here and grabbing the very newest version of the library and integrating that, which is completely different from the old version. So it's in a sense I'm having to like rewrite the Google Play stuff, but that's okay. It's like the newer stuff. It's much cleaner and more foolproof and things like that. But it's definitely been a bit of work. So I've been working on that all week, and once that's done, that will let us use V2 features and all that with Google Play accounts. So unfortunately, I don't have that ready to show yet. Like, I mean, I could show like some of the code, but that's not very exciting. But that should be coming up soon. I was hoping to maybe be able to demo that today, but it's not quite ready. Another like upside of that is I'm integrating it in a more secure way. So for starting with V2 accounts, I don't want to knock on V1 accounts, but there were definitely like some holes in V1 accounts. As people have found, like on some platforms, if you edit like a UUID file, then you can like change your account ID, and if you steal someone's UUID, you can like become that person, and just some very like bad, insecure stuff. So with this, I'm trying to have everything in the V2 world be nice and secure. So that's why like the email password-based logons, I tried to make those as secure as possible, to where like if you want, you can turn on like two-factor authentication and whatnot, where it sends you an email every time you log in, which using two-factor authentication with email is a little annoying, but it's nice if you want that extra security. But anyway, for the Google Play Games stuff, there's some extra security features where basically when you sign in with Google Play, then I can like ping one of Google's servers and just to verify that that's actually you signing in. So it's, I'm getting all that hooked up. So it should mean it's pretty much, there's no way that you can like hack your local copy of the game and like impersonate somebody else who is, impersonate their Google Play login at least. So again, hopefully I've learned my lesson from security holes that have been in, V1 stuff. And so hopefully this will be a lot more foolproof and secure and whatnot. But there should be more news on that next week. Hopefully that will be all ready to use by next week. So that's basically my update for this week. But let's see what some of the stuff in the chat is. What is this? Someone's 1v1. Is that all like sparked? What is that? That looks awesome, but also potentially like frame rate destroying. Cool though. It was interesting with, if I can zoom in on this. So this all like sparks and debris and pieces flying out. That's all in what's called like the background dynamics layer, which is basically just stuff that doesn't affect the game, but it's there to look cool. And so it's like this entire separate little system that just deals with like drawing sparks and drawing particles and things like that. And for some of the stuff, like for debris, I put some limits in there. Like if you look through the source code, you'll probably see them. But basically, like if a bomb explodes and little pieces go flying, it keeps track of how many pieces there are. And then if a second bomb explodes and more pieces go flying, it might use fewer pieces. The idea is like if bombs are exploding constantly and there's stuff flying, like at some point it won't keep adding pieces. It'll add like fewer and fewer pieces. So it tries to like keep the total number of pieces to some minimum level, just so we don't like completely slow down phones. But this just made me realize I probably didn't put that limit in there for sparks. If this is what I'm seeing, if this is sparks, it's clearly clearly a lot of them. I mean, probably a decent machine or a good computer or a high-end phone could probably handle that fine. But it just made me think of that. All right, going down the line here. Will servers use V2 accounts too by default? At some point, yes. I'm not taking V1 accounts out anytime soon, and they'll still be the default for things like servers and stuff. At some point though, like once basically everyone has access to V2 accounts, like I'd like to, then we can have servers use those because they'll be more secure. There's kind of some sort of hacky stuff in there with servers right now where when someone joins the game, it will like verify their account with my master server, and then you'll be able to like look up their account ID, so you can kind of verify them. but it's a little like tacked on and awkward and stuff. So I want to make the V2 stuff just clean, so it's like when someone joins the game, you know absolutely that they are who they say they are and stuff like that. So just kind of trying to fix all the design issues from the V1 stuff. Will they use V2 accounts? How? That's a good question. I'll have to take a look at that or think about that. I definitely want to like design it. I don't want it to be, as I said, there's kind of V1 accounts have like this security feature that was a little bit tacked on where like when someone joins the game, it will then do like a security lookup on them and you'll get their like verified ID. But that's not good because it means people can join the game even before they're verified and like cause problems before they get kicked out or whatever. So that's, I definitely want to do this in a well-designed way where it's like, it'll only let you in the game if you've been verified. Like, it'll maybe do a lookup on you first, or maybe the master server will say like, hey, this verified person is joining your game, or, just, I'll have to think about it. But, I just want that to be more clean and secure than it is now. Because I'd love for everything just to be like nice and verified. People, if you see someone, it's really them, and all that good stuff. Pirate speak accessible with pressing F9. We could do that. We could have, that'd be a nice if someone wanted to submit a PR for that. I think you could probably find that pretty quick, or like F9 cycles between gibberish and normal. I actually totally forgot that's in there. But yeah, you can make it switch to pirate speak too. For anyone who doesn't know, there's the translation page. So it's bombsquadgame.com translate, I think. I forgot. Oh yeah. So here's the existing translation page, and there's probably, if anyone has any languages that you'd like to work on that aren't listed here, please email me. Or if you have emailed me and I didn't respond, email me again because I miss stuff sometimes. But anyway, here's all the languages people have requested, and you can see like how translated they all are. But at some point, someone requested pirate speak, and so the pirate speak has been in here for quite a while. And it's actually like I've been getting more submissions for it lately, so people are actually slowly translating pirate speak, which is kind of awesome. Make your own name, put in cipher, will ya? So yeah, we should totally bring back. People have mentioned like the announcing game names, like capture the flag. We should totally put in a pirate speak version. So just in a pirate accent, capture the flag. But yeah, anyway, once if people continue to work on pirate speak, I usually when these languages get up to 100%, that's when I like add them to the game, because I don't want to be able to like have users be able to select a language which is only like 3% done, because then most things they see would be untranslated. But if pirate speak gets to 100%, then we can add it to the game, which is totally ridiculous. I love it. And we could basically replace gibberish with pirate speak. That's actually more fun. The reason I put gibberish in here, and it probably wasn't necessary, but I just put gibberish in to give myself like a random language. Basically for everything in English, I just translate it to random key presses. But then I can switch to gibberish and just make sure I can go through the game and make sure that, if I see something that is still in English, I know that I missed something, that I need to add like a translation entry for it. So that's what gibberish is working for. But pirate speak I guess there's the danger with pirate speak is you couldn't tell necessarily for sure that it is, it's pirate speak. If it could look like English at first glance. So maybe we shouldn't use that for testing, but it should still be easily available. I think F9 could be good. You can just print like, now using gibberish, now using pirate speak. So that's pirate speak. And so yeah, back to V2 accounts. That's another thing with V2 accounts is, it's harder to auto-generate a V2 account. Like with the V1 account, you can change your UUID on some platforms. You'll just get a new account. So, as many of you unfortunately have found out, it's very easy to create spam accounts and things like that. I probably need to. I probably need to like run a purge on my server just to go through and like clear out the millions of spam accounts that are probably existing. I'm probably like paying way more money than I should for database storage for spam accounts. Oh geez. Oh no. So much like crazy VFX stuff. People doing strange mods. I love strange mods. Like I think that's, this is a game. We're supposed to have fun, like make weird stuff. I love it. I feel like my as a developer, my concern like seeing stuff like this is like, oh, I hope this doesn't crash, or I hope the game survives this. But as long as the game survives, that's good. So yeah, Pirate Speak, 30% down. I feel like it was at like 10% for the longest time, but it's made some incredible strides. Submarine Speak. That's true. We need a language for those people. Let's do this submarine check. Let's see if anyone's playing the sub right now. I haven't checked in a few days. Oh yeah, we got one sub out here. He's going between Africa and like Indonesia or something. Oh, two. Yeah, there's a few subs. There's none over here in the Pacific. There's usually like 1 or 2 subs in the Pacific, but none today. And then this guy here, what this map shows is when someone connects and I don't have their exact location, it shows like I have it show like a big kind of faded dot. So that's like here, there's someone connecting, I assume from China, but I don't have like an exact location within China. So that's what this big faded dot is. But I don't know what, it draws the big faded dot like in the middle of their country. So there must be like a small island country right here. Like this big faded dot means there's someone in Australia that I don't know where they are. And I assume there's another little island country here. Or submarines, probably submarines. Test language. Oh yes, yeah. Test language plugin is outdated. There is, if anyone goes to that language stuff, it is. I was just there. Yeah, I think there's instructions here on like how to test it in your game, but those are, yeah, I think I'll just let's go back to Pirate Speak. Yeah, down at the bottom, it mentions, oh yeah. Yeah, there's this, which will download like the language in .py form, like which is how it used to be in 1.4. But nowadays it's JSON, so it's like it's in a slightly different format. I need to update that. That's one of those things where it's like it would take a little time, and I should do it. I just haven't. If you're ambitious, you could probably write a Python script that would just translate this into a JSON file. But I mean that sucks. But I guess that's probably what I would be doing anyway, kind of on the server side. I've been making plans for kind of the future version of this translator thing. I've mentioned, in the future, I'd love for people to be able to kind of like make their own translation entries. So I'm trying to think about like how to kind of integrate these translations with like the asset stuff that's coming up in 1.8. And so in a way, like I don't want to go in and add features to this old janky translator thing, which includes stuff like that JSON thing. Just because I'd rather do it all cleanly in the V2 version. So that's kind of why I haven't touched this translator stuff in a while. But I'm not sure when the V2 translation stuff would happen, so like it might be worth doing. But just to throw it out there, if you do want to test a language, like we could probably come up with a script, or maybe mention it in the modder channel or something like that. It probably would be like a 10-line Python script that would take the .py file and convert it to JSON. So like if I do this, if I download bs language test.py, just to show you what it looks like, come in here. It's basically just kind of the big set of everything in this language. So, it's a big Python dictionary, if you can see that. Big Python dictionary containing a bunch of keys and names and whatever. And in the new version of the game, since 1.5, these are no longer Python files, they're JSON files. And JSON, it's funny, like JSON looks a lot like Python for data like this. So if you take a look at a built copy of the game, go under BA data, this is under the data section, like JSON stuff is just under data, and then languages. Let's look at this same language. So that was what, gibberish? Gibberish.json. Yeah, you'll see it's basically the same thing. It doesn't have this like values equal. It's just like, you know, a JSON dictionary containing, like, it's basically the exact same data, I believe. So really, I think all you would have to do is, write a Python script that would exec this code, like exec this file, and then grab this values dictionary, and then use like the JSON module to just like write that out to a file. So it'd be like 3 lines or something, and then you'd get one of these that you could test with. But yeah, I should do that on the server side. It wouldn't take too much time. It's just one of those little things on the to-do list. There's so many little things on the to-do list. It's hard to get to them sometimes. There are a lot of lang JSON files in game folder, but it shows only a few in game. Why? It should show most of these, doesn't it? Like, I think in some cases it depends. Like I've mentioned before, how some copies of the game don't have the ability to display like any Unicode strings, and so there's some languages that don't show up. For instance, like I think Arabic and like Chinese and Asian like Korean. So depending on what copy of the game you're running, you might not see some of them, but yeah, like the game has textures built in for displaying like some characters, like basically like English characters and like Russian, like Belarus, or not the Cyrillic. What am I? Couldn't remember the name, but like English and Russian characters should show up without any external support. But like, yeah, to show like Chinese or Arabic or other languages, that currently it'll show up on the Android version because we have this built into the Android, and the official Mac version has this. I think not the. So if you get like the Mac test build, but like the CMake builds, like the Unixy, like Linux CMake builds don't have it. Windows doesn't have it yet. So we need to get that in there. That's yet another thing on the to-do list. So there's Hindi. So you can see any of these with kind of non-English, non-Russian looking characters won't show up. Yeah, like Tamil, Thai. I assume Ukrainian does, because I think that's the same character set as Russian, right? I'd have to check. Ooh, what is that? Yes, I was just gonna say. Bomb squad is not detected. Yeah, and that's something I've wanted to do. Like I'd like to at least when I was adding the support, like basically what that involves, what getting these languages working involves is you have to talk to like the operating system. On Mac, there's like a library on like Apple stuff. There's a library where basically you can tell it like, hey, draw this text string into this texture or something like that, and the operating system has built-in fonts and all that, and so it can draw like emojis or any characters. It's like there's so many characters out there, like the full Unicode spectrum. I looked into like what would it take, could I just like add textures to the game to be able to draw like everything, and that would be basically impossible. Like there's too much stuff out there. You have to have a library or ask the operating system to draw that for you. And then once you do that, you can tell the operating system like, hey, draw this into a texture, and then the game can use that texture repeatedly. So it's like you just have to do it once, and then you can use it again. But that's the problem, or that's the tricky thing, is you have to write that part differently for each operating system. So I've written it for like Apple stuff and for Android stuff, but it still needs to be written for Windows stuff and Linux stuff. So yeah, as I mentioned, I want to, if I can at least like expose a demo of like when I was working on it, I had a little test screen where it would just like be drawing, random characters that the OS was drawing and making sure they look okay. So I need to, if I can get that test screen working again, that would probably make it easier for people to port that code to Windows or Linux or whatever. And I'd be happy to do that myself, but again, it's just one of those like priority things where I certainly want to get that done before I release the game on Steam or like an official Windows release. The Windows builds out there, they're kind of like test builds. They're not quite official. They're missing a few things, and that's one of the big things. So I'd want to get that in there before we release it. But as I mentioned, if anyone feels ambitious and you want to try to do that part yourself, definitely ping me. I'd try to help out a bit. Oh yes, the finishing installation thing on Android. It is basically pulling a bunch of stuff out of the APK, which some of that is necessary and some of that we could maybe change. Like there's certain things like Python itself. Like Python, if you look at like the Python like C libraries, Python expects to be able to like open files and have like low level access to like .pyc files and things like that. And so for all of that to work, Python, you need all the Python stuff to be on disk generally. Actually, I should say Python does have support for like opening zip files and like loading scripts from zip files. So I haven't looked too closely into that, but the issue is on Android, when you're running on Android, an APK is basically like a fancy zip file. So all of like the bundled game assets exist within that fancy zip file. And so in order for Python to be able to just like work, I basically have to pull everything out of that zip file. And I'm also pulling out all the game assets and things just because that allows them, if they just exist like as normal files on disk, then I can use the exact same code to load them as I do like on Windows and Linux and other platforms, because they're all like files on the file system. Normally, Android, there would be special like Java calls in Android or Kotlin calls to open and load files from the APK or like the special Android file system. So that's basically the reason is it pulls the stuff out to put it on disk so that it works the exact same as other platforms. But we could kind of add support for APK stuff so that the game, and this is something I've thought about maybe during the 1.8 update, is as long as I'm redoing assets, like maybe we could make it so the game could load assets directly from the APK, so you wouldn't have to have that like initial step of pulling them out. So that's up in the air, because if that would speed things up, like that could be cool. Though at the same point, I worry that like if it's slower, like if it actually winds up being slower, like accessing files directly from the APK, like maybe it's still better to like pull them all out first, because even though that takes a moment, like then the game probably runs faster. It only has to do that once. Like it's smart about like only pulling things out if they don't already exist on the disk. Like it checks their like mod times, or I forgot exactly how it works, but it only pulls things out once. So it's probably theoretically faster than like on the second launch and third launch than it would be accessing them directly from the APK every time. Like I'd be curious to see like if that's actually a win or not. But yeah, that does actually bring up a question of like, if an APK is actually a zip file and Python supports loading stuff from zip files, like would it be possible to just tell Python like, hey, load from this APK? But that might be like a hack. I don't know if I'd want to rely on that, because maybe APKs are like slightly modified zip files, or yeah, it's like I'm not sure if that would be a good idea. So yeah, APK had to be small. There was an issue before where APK had to be less than 50 megs, otherwise like people couldn't download it over cell connections, or maybe I think that was just the limit period, like on Google Play. It's like you couldn't have an APK bigger than 50 megs. And if you needed more space than that, you had to do like extension APKs, which was, it seemed, I didn't actually implement that, but it seemed like it would have been a big pain in the butt where it's like Android will like download extra APKs and like merge them together somehow, but I really didn't want to have to worry about that. So for a while, I was always trying to keep the game less than 50 megs. Thankfully, that it's been a while now that that is no longer the limit. The limit is like 200, or I don't remember what it is, but it's definitely bigger than we need, so that's good. Um, so so we have some space to grow. But they do like on the Google Play console when you're uploading games and stuff like that. They do always make a point that like smaller games get downloaded more and stuff. So they do encourage developers to try to keep APKs small. And they're also doing, like Google especially is doing a lot of stuff where like you can split the game up now where it only needs to download like the first 10 megs and then it can launch the game and then it like loads other stuff in the background, which that sounds kind of neat. But that's also, I think that's what like the asset pack stuff will kind of give us some of that for free starting, when 1.8 is done. Because it means like technically we don't have to include everything in the APK then, and for certain like lesser played games, it can just download that when it needs it, which is kind of cool. I'll have to I'll have to see how much like bandwidth costs add up though. Like I don't know, because there's part of me that thinks like, oh, we could just have the game be super small, like not include any assets, and then you'll launch or just enough assets to show like the main menu, and then you launch the game and get the main menu and it'll like load everything in the background. But the problem is then it would be loading that from my servers, and so I'd be paying for that bandwidth. Whereas if it loads it from Google, it's free. So I'd have to look into what would make sense there. Like it could be cool. Spaz waving animation used only on the tutorial. I believe it is, yes. Like that. I know people have mentioned like emotes and things like that, or yeah, like we could wire stuff like that up as an emote, or like unlockable emotes or different things like that. Could be cool. I was mentioning this last week too. It'd be fun to like let people make their own. Just like if you look at like the spaz waving stuff, I think it's probably wired up in like the spaz class. It's basically just like everything's physicsy, so it's just like moving the point like where he's trying to move his arm to. Like it just moves that point back and forth, and so he winds up like doing that weird wave thing. But it'd be fun to like see what people could come up with, like make dances and stuff. People at some point might exploit the open source parts of the game to build. What's an ESP hack? I should know that. What does ESP stand for? Could you mute? I will mute. Mute. Okay. But anyway, on this topic anyway, just talking about might exploit the open source parts of the game to build ESP hacks and whatnot. Yeah, that's definitely a worry. I mean, my hope is, I want to clean up the open source networking code. I was talking to a few people, just like it's a little bit ugly. I'm hoping to clean that up with the Scene Protocol stuff. That'll be a side effect of like Scene Protocol v2 will have its own set of networking code basically, and so that can be a little bit cleaned up. I want to just like tighten up and clean up the networking code. I know it's possible to exploit stuff like that, but on the flip side, it's also possible for people to help fix exploits, and hopefully we can just harden that code. I've kind of done that a little bit over time when people point out like, oh, there's some like attack on the server where people like flood this certain message like really fast and it overloads the game and the game crashes. I've tried to put in some protections for certain things like that. I'm sure there's always going to be more of them. I mean, there's some stuff like denial of service attacks. If people are like attacking your server with a crap ton of other servers, like at some point, maybe there's not much we can do, but I'm hoping that by having that part be open sourced, we can at least everyone can kind of defend themselves a little bit better. Oh, predict. Oh, okay, extrasensory protect. Predicting where a bomb would explode. Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's. I hadn't thought about. I mean, I guess. On one hand, I thought the game. I feel like the game in its current form, like we don't. I feel like there's not as extreme of exploits you can do. Like in a first-person shooter, things like wall hacks, being able to like see where people are through walls and stuff like that. It's like that is clearly a huge advantage. And so in a way, because Bomb Squad is like you can kind of see where everyone is anyway, and The game's all physicsy and stuff. I kind of feel like there's not too many extreme exploits. Like that stuff is interesting. Like being able to see bomb radiuses and things like that. Like that could be slightly beneficial. I don't think it would be as bad as it is in like first person shooters and stuff. But yeah, that's a good question. Like if we would want to like worry about that. Because part of like right now there's in the Android version there's the APK like the rootkit detection stuff, which I just upgraded too. Hopefully maybe that will be fewer false positives now. I just got the latest version. While I was in there like upgrading Google Play Game Services, I also updated rootbeerlib, I think it's called, which is what I'm using for root detection. But yeah, in a way I have been looking forward to being able to like rip that stuff out. Because once we're no longer relying on like scores, right now people play tournaments on their local device. So if you hack your game, you can hack your tournament score basically, and then submit that, and then you're at the top of the tournament. So I've been relying on like rootkit detection to disallow tournaments if your device is rooted, just to try to slow that kind of stuff down. But I've thought like once we get client prediction going, or once tournaments are working well enough on cloud servers, hopefully that would be unneeded, because if you're not actually able to hack the tournament rules or hack the game rules because they're not running on your device, then we shouldn't care if you're rooted. It should be fine if you're running a rooted phone and you're connecting to a server. But that is an interesting question, is like, should we still try to detect stuff like that, or care about like local mods to show things like bomb radius and stuff like that? Like, would that actually be a meaningful competitive advantage? Or we could also go down the route where we just like expose that for everyone. Like if someone wants to play in some weird like Terminator Matrix mode where you're seeing all these like stats and graphs and stuff, like maybe we should just let people do that. Like but I don't know. It would make the game look just really dumb. I was mentioning last week, like games, it kind of annoys me when you have games where there's just like too many, like life bars and charts and like colorful numbers and things to look at, because I feel like then you're like looking at a spreadsheet and not looking at like a game world. It's like I feel like that takes something away from like the artistry of it. But if that makes it more fun for people to play, like maybe that's okay. So it'd be interesting to hear your folks' thoughts on that. Where's 200 tickets? Yes, this is an interesting point. And if you have actually wasted a ton of money, I'm happy to refund you the tickets. Just message me. I know the game will. Yeah, I think right now, I guess maybe there's no warning if. Yeah, I guess there's no warning. Which I apologize for that. Like if you play a tournament, it'll just tell you like, sorry, can't accept your score. The game is modded. And I think part of my reason for that was I didn't want the game to tell you too quickly that your game is modded, because it would make it easier for people to iterate on testing that. Like, oh, if I tweak this, does the game know it's modded? Like, if I tweak this, does the game still know it's modded? Like this way, at least you have to like play a tournament each time. So I thought it might slow people who are trying to hack the game and like get around the rootkit detection. It would at least slow them down. But I'm sure there's some false positives, and so again, if you legitimately have wasted tickets, and just ping me, I can give you a refund. I'm rooted and game can't detect it. Yeah, I am sure there are cases. I'm sure there's cases where it doesn't detect it, and I'm sure there's I've definitely been informed there's false positives. Some people tell me I guess I'm not 100% sure, but I've had a lot of people tell me that their device is not rooted, but they're being prevented from playing tournaments. So it's hard to know like what's the best there. Like I don't have time to like go through and like research like who's telling the truth and who's actually rooted, and have like a whitelist to allow certain rooted people to play or something like that. But it's like I also don't want to just turn off the root detection, because then it's like a free for all again. So my current thought is I'm just gonna push through and try to get cloud-based tournaments here as fast as I can. Yeah, again, yeah, I mentioned the reason. It's kind of a bad reason, but like I don't want it to tell people too early. So I know it's kind of a bummer if you wind up wasting a ticket only for the game to tell you you're modded. But I didn't want to make it too easy to test if the game knows you're modded or not. So yeah, maybe play a really cheap tournament or get some tickets watching an ad just to make sure your device is not detected as rooted. So yeah, but yeah, again, I'm still hopefully looking forward to taking out the root detection stuff. Just or just like having it. Yeah, I don't know if that would be good to have that in there and like disallow people from competitive games based on if they're rooted because I don't know. I feel like in general I support the idea of rooting. You know, it's playing with your phone and it's kind of like your device. Have fun with it. You know, hack around with it. Um, oh, game will warn you if you turn plugins. If you turn plugins one or on, is that supposed to be on? Even if you turn them, is there? Yeah, I'd have to check that. If you could give me a specific like uh, what exactly happens. The game should tell you that you have plugins on if you try to enter a tournament because then it will be disallowed. Um, but yeah, if it's doing that in the wrong case or yeah, if it's telling you that when it shouldn't be or if there's something that we can fix, we should try to fix that. Yeah, if you can like repro that, if you can like show me like a step by step of how to reproduce that, I could take a look at that and try to get that cleared up. But I guess I could show you if root beer lib. I think this is yeah. If anyone's interested, this is the thing I'm using. I probably shouldn't be showing you this, but this is the thing I'm using to try to detect root on your devices. So if you're interested, I think there's like an APK here you can download, and it will tell you if your device is rooted or not. So just kind of if you're feeling nerdy and you want to see rooted or not rooted. So I'm using basically this library. So now you know how to get around it if you're trying to hack a tournament. But yeah, in general, with bugs and things like that, it's probably most people probably know this, but to try to fix them, like it's always best to have like a repro case, reproducible test case, like a step by step. Like if I do this and then I do this and then I do this, this happens. Like it's something that is easily then I can go through those steps or other people can go through those steps and reproduce that bug, because then it's possible to fix. Like it's always like we call them like Heisenbugs, like the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, where like bugs that only show up when you're not looking for them, or things like that, where it's like those are always the hardest ones to fix. Where it's like, oh, the game crashes sometimes. Like, how do you get it to crash? Like, I don't know, it just crashes sometimes. Like stuff like that it's so hard to track down. It's funny, I get bug reports like that too. Like, like I'll get an email or something saying like the game has a bug, please fix it. I'll be like, what? Okay, thank you. Um, Discord rich presence. I love it. I really want to support that for 2.0 stuff. I mean, it seems like Mickey Rog, uh, got that working for his stuff. Like I think it was like an older version of it, but it seems like people have that like working in some ways. But yeah, I'd love for that to be like officially supported and for the V2 squad system when we get that going. Which, by the way, I really I think I was mentioning last week that I was taking a little time working on sandboxing, which is the kind of the piece of the puzzle that will let us run like modded servers on my cloud servers, and then you can upload a custom game type you wrote, and then we can just run it on like all my servers or whatever safely because I'm not worried about you hacking the server or something like that because it'll be like protected in a sandbox. Um, but yeah, so I'm hoping to spend a little more time getting the sandboxing stuff done, and then also maybe getting like at least starting on the squad stuff. Like I think it would be great, even if it was super ugly, if we can just get like little pieces in place for like the squad system where just a way to like invite people to my squad, and then maybe you could just play a particular game type, or just something to start to like iterate on that, like the whole squads thing, because that'll be that's basically like a key part of like the 2.0 goal, is that the squad system will be how people play the game. Just like, hey, invite people to your squad, and then play against other squads, or play a co-op game together, or play a tournament together, or whatever. So I'm super excited to get the seed planted to start growing that, because I think stuff like that is it also takes a while to like shake out bugs and kind of really get a feel for it. And so I think like getting a version 0.1 up and running would be beneficial, even if that's not really expected until later. Like that's if you look at the roadmap, that's part of the squad system, is part of 1.9. So, but if we start like playing with it a little bit early during 1.7 and 1.8, I think that's okay too. And yes, baby Pascal and baby Spaz. I do love that idea. I love the idea of just like little critters or something that are just totally different from Spaz. Like you can pick them up and throw them super far, stuff like that. Maybe they'd be little playable characters. Or like you have like one Spaz, like one player gets to play as like a Spaz, and then the other 7 players get to play as like mini Spazzes or something. So just like chasing the Spaz around. It's like see how long you could survive, or something like that. Like you hit them with one bomb and they all just go scattering. It could be fun. IPC layers deprecated. Discord SDK. Internal. Okay. All right. Yeah, it'd be good to like if we could keep an eye on this stuff, or if anyone else if wants to help tackle this stuff, I can expose what needs to be exposed on the 2.0 layer or whatever. But yeah, I think that's a good point. Is like just getting the 2.0 account stuff in there. I mean, in general, I want the 2.0 account squad system, all that. I just want it to be like this online group you play with, and so we can add whatever hooks we want into that, like allow inviting people to that group through Discord, or inviting people to that group through, if Steam supports that kind of functionality, or whatever. Like that I'd love to just get that group system, that squad system, like nice and well designed and working, and then we can, kind of add inputs to that from all over the place. How many subversions do you think 1.7 will have in total before 1.8? I'm hoping not too many more. The big remaining piece of 1.7, I think I posted a list somewhere at some point. I think the last big remaining piece is this Google Play Games, Google Play logins, Google Play Games logins using V2 features. And so that's, as I mentioned, that I've been working on that all week. Hopefully we'll be done by next week. We'll see. And then yeah, I think there's other stuff I'd mentioned too. Like I still want to I need to get like a REST API for V2 accounts and stuff like that up, but that's not necessarily tied to the client, So that might be a completely independent thing. So the 1.7 series might be almost done once the Google Play Games logins are working. There'll probably be I'm guessing like most major features like that, there's usually a few like minor versions after, like minor versions released in the next week or two, just to, like fix bugs with that. That seems to be that's generally how I operate, is like I don't have a process, or at least so far, is like I don't have a proper like beta period or anything. It's just like get a feature working, it seems like it works, I'll just throw it out there, and then there's bugs and I'll throw out like a fix 2 days later. I guess probably if there were a bigger team or whatever, or maybe it would make sense to like have more of like a beta process and whatnot like that. But I kind of I think for me, like the fun of being kind of like an indie developer. I mean, there's all of you helping out with mods and bug fixes and PRs and things like that. But in general, is like I think if you're a small team, it's nice to kind of take advantage of that and try to like just be nimble. Just like, oh, I can like fix this thing and put out a new version later today. Whereas yeah, like a giant game company wouldn't be able to do that. So it's like, it's a slight advantage of being small and nimble. Might as well enjoy it. Um, but yeah, so I can't say exactly how many 1.7 updates are left yet, but the big main feature is GPGS accounts, and then once that seems stable, I think like I'd like to, as I said, kind of draw a line in the sand. I'll maybe make like a a 1.7 branch if we need to add like emergency bug fixes later. But then from then on, I'll probably start just diving into 1.8 and like really ripping stuff apart. that'll be a huge mess before it's done, because yeah, there's going to be a fair amount of like any code to load assets and things like that will have to be slightly redone and stuff like that. So it'll be it'll be a bit of flux, but it'll be awesome and worth it and fun. Oh yeah, that could be fun. One mini spaz chases everyone. If you get caught, you turn into mini spaz. That's uh, anyone played the what was, I'm blanking, the EA's like Star Wars first person shooter or Battlefield. They're basically their Star Wars Battlefield game, Galactic Battlefront, something. But anyway, they're big, basically Battlefield like Star Wars game. There's a play mode where it's like Ewoks versus stormtroopers, and there's like a handful of stormtroopers, and like in the dark, and then like these Ewoks like hunting them. And most players play as like Ewoks. When you kill a stormtrooper, then you become an Ewok. That player becomes an Ewok, and so it's just like all these like little Ewok dudes like hunting down stormtroopers. It's like kind of creepy, but also awesome. So Dliwk, I feel like I don't know how to like say your name. Dliwk. It's one of those things where like there's so many names and stuff online where it's like I type them, but then like if I say them, I'm not sure like how do I say it. But you mentioned you had like a demo of something. Dliwk. Okay. Could you join random server? Oh, sure. You've made a server called random server. Oh, okay. Well, let's try. Aha. Okay. Bad ping, but seeing it. Sparkles. Oh, cool. Dlink. Okay. Dliwk. It's really funny to see stuff like like sparkles being used for like bomb trails and stuff like that. You know, stuff that was, I hadn't thought of that, but it's like, hey, that's kind of cool. Yeah, that makes me wonder if I should have some like easy sort of, I don't know, like some graph or something just showing, just for modders to see like when you add, if you're creating a certain effect by, yeah, like calling a certain function every step, like how much bandwidth that's adding or whatever. Like it could be, I'm curious if that would be useful for people because yeah, I'm sure some people are doing things that are just super inefficient. I mean, I know the game uses too much bandwidth anyway, but yeah, I'm sure there's certain calls and certain ways of doing things that you know really make it worse. Epic Quake mod? No, I have not. There's also things too where it's interesting. Like if I'm like looking at seeing what people are doing with visual effects stuff or calling certain functions repeatedly, like that might influence like maybe the game could like support those in a more efficient way or something, like batch them together into a single command that goes out over the network. Dliwk. Very cool. It is interesting to like see like velocity, uh, listed. It gives you a. I always wondered for stuff like having punches and things like that be more powerful, um, based on your velocity. Like it does seem like it gives you a little bit more of a sense of like how much your punch, like what your punch would be doing. Actually being able to see like the number or the graph. Well, like I said, it does like the downside is then it adds more like visual clutter and stuff too. So it's hard to know. Maybe we should add some sort of just generic, like graph or generic meters or something like that that you could attach to players. Come up with like a design that is kind of easy to read but would let you do cool stuff like that. Oh my gosh. Oh. Oh, that's pretty hilarious. Are those actually like, are the rigid bodies actually bigger in that case, or are they normal bomb sized? Because clearly like they're kind of like squishing into the ground, so I assume they're like very heavy, so they're just kind of like, huh. What is this? Oh, you need to restart? Okay. Oh. Okay, I can rejoin. Same name? Alright, see ya, E. Oh no, there's a line. Oh, that is awesome. Uh, now we need to add like proper rocket trails. Like this, that would be fun. I think I showed you guys a little bit of like Zombie Gunship last week, which is the game that I was working on with my friends for a few years back in like 2015. So one of the things I did for there was like rocket trails. I did most of like the graphics coding, but I had these cool like rocket trail looking things. So yeah, we should come up with like a some official weapon or something in the game that uses like rocket trails. I guess there's already the smoke trails. Maybe we could make those look better. But that'd be cool for like making fun little like weapons like this. Yeah. Yeah, my thought would be like we would just want like a trail emitter or something. You could like attach that, basically attach that to another node, like the position or something, and then it would just like emit a rocket trail behind that, or you could define what kind of trail you wanted. And so it would do the smart thing with like a texture, like a repeating texture that would animate. Oh, geez. Oh. See, I love seeing stuff like this. It gets me all inspired. I just want to like work faster to get this stuff like more more like easy to share and accessible online and stuff like that. Super cool though. Add direction. Okay. Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, I guess in this case it would make sense to have direction arrows because like that would be you'd see like exactly where your shot's going to go then. In the normal game it's more like everything's kind of like wishy-washy and like it doesn't exactly matter like where you're pointed, but yeah, that's a good point. So maybe we'd want or maybe for a game like this you would want to just define that at the game level, right? Where it's just like all players in this game have an arrow in front of them or something. Well, very cool. So, yeah, that's awesome to see. So, if anyone like anytime we should do this more. Like if people have mods and things like that, like fun mods, we should have just like show and tell. Oh, Mr. Smoothie, you want to show something? Oh yeah, the in-game ping feature. Sure. Yeah. Do you want to share the screen? We can take a look. Ooh, cool. Yeah, that is definitely handy to have. So very awesome. Um, One minor note, I'm assuming it did, but have you tested it with there's a graphics setting for like TV borders just to make sure it works with that? Like, does it properly show up in the right place like when that's turned on? Oh no. What? Holy moly. That was trippy. But yeah, that's super awesome to have. I will try to. I know there's a few PRs kind of building up in the GitHub repo, so I'll try to get those pulled in. As I mentioned, like I'll probably try to finish up this Google Play Game Services stuff. Oh wow, this is cool. We. Yeah, I guess I didn't realize I could do that. I can just like awesome. Everyone can see this, right? This is like super trippy. Yeah, that's a cool feature. You can like watch your own stream. Sorry if I made anyone throw up. Uh, what was I mentioning before? Oh yeah, the yeah, in-game ping is super awesome. I know when I've played online, I know I've mentioned I don't play online a ton because it just makes me feel bad about lag and like want to fix that. But like when I do, I have kind of missed that. Like, oh, I'd be curious to know what my ping is. Um, ideal. I mean, I guess it could be cool to show like everyone's ping. A lot of games do that. Um, though it makes me wonder like if sometimes then you just when you lose you blame it on like, oh, he has a better ping than me. But yeah, just having at least ping on the lower left, that is super cool. So I'll try to get that pulled in as soon as the GPGS stuff is done. So maybe that'll be it for 1.7. I can get GPGS stuff done, pull in the existing set of PRs, and then maybe let the dust settle, and then move on to 1.8. Welcome back. Yeah, that sounds good. It is neat. Like I feel a bit bad. I haven't looked at mods or I haven't like played modded games as much as I should have, or like looking to see what people are doing with that because I think it is very useful to like for me kind of just to see what stuff people are using and what might be useful for people to have and stuff, and just to get fun gameplay ideas. So yeah, that could be fun. Like yeah, so maybe next time or later this time or something. If anyone has like an classic old mod that you want to just do show and tell for, because as I mentioned, I haven't played too many of the mods, so like I'd like to see them. But yeah, is Super Smash? I know I've seen Super Smash mentioned. Is that an old mod? Uh oh. People are opinionated on Super Smash. Speaking of that, I have like a love hate relationship with actual Super Smash Brothers. Like my roommates in college were super into Super Smash Brothers, and they were like awesome at it, and they would always want me to play. And so like, I felt like I felt obligated to play with them sometime, but it would just be them like destroying me repeatedly. So it was just like, okay, I'll let you kick my ass. So it was like, it seemed like a fun game, but it was in a way it was I hated it so much just because I just got destroyed. They were so much better than me. Like I didn't even. I guess I could have like bought a GameCube or whatever at the time and gotten good at it, but I never did. Oh, Was that video? Was that the one we were just looking at, or is that something different, or like? Okay, cool, cool. That gives me a question of like, yeah, is that a problem where like people make mods but they're not easy to understand or something, or like should we, if we want to embrace mods more, like should we have like a standard way, or like all mods should show like their controls, like a an opening screen, or we could define games in a way where it makes it a little bit more like encourage games to kind of lay out their rules or things like that, or just questions I have like that. Oh wait, which let's see what this is. So how's this one work? Explain bot war. I love the Ouya power ups. So are these bots? Is it just like you're fighting with bots? Programming bot battle win. Yeah, I still think that's an awesome idea, like a bot battle. I like one thing I'm trying to keep in mind with V2 stuff is, I yeah, with like the V2 stuff and the sandboxing stuff, I want it to be possible. I'm trying to think of like a high level thing that we can allow people to write, like almost like a tournament or something, where it's almost like scripting. You're not just scripting the game itself. You're scripting like the cloud servers. So you'd be scripting something where like, oh, when these people join, put them together into this game, or something where it's almost like you're scripting things at a higher level that would allow you to do different types of tournaments, or just possibly things like stuff like that, like bot wars, where like, oh, people join and they're allowed to write some code into a text box, and then it like spins off a game with that code in it or something, where like you're actually scripting the servers, like multiple servers, and not just a single game. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's something I'm trying to think about in terms of like what could we be able to script at a higher level that would let us do fun stuff like bot wars, or yeah, I don't know, just any sort of like fun environment where a ton of people could join something and it would like split them off into different groups or whatever. So I'm guessing people have modified bots to where they can can have multiple bot teams. I guess that, like, I think the bot logic is, I assume it needs to be modified a bit, because there's no games built, there's no built-in like support for having like multiple teams of bots, but it shouldn't be too hard to do. So I'm assuming I'm assuming people figured it out. So yeah, very very cool stuff. Yeah, sandbox. This will also be independent of versions, so it's not like this is completely independent of the client version. So I'm hoping to get that part done soon, or at least a first version of the sandbox stuff. Because as I said, it's going to be something where it'll probably take some trial and error to get it working well, and to just I'd like to get it out there, and so people can start messing with it, and I can see if there's any exploits. I'd rather find exploits early rather than like if we launch on iOS and Steam and everything like that, and there's bajillions of people, and then somebody like takes over all the servers. Like that's not good. So I'd like to, get all that out of the system early. So I'm guessing, I don't know. I'd like to do that soon. So maybe after the GPGS stuff is done, or sometime in the next month or two. Like that'd be fun to. I don't know how it will manifest at first. Like if. I'd like to expose it to people. Like maybe if you can launch a game server that is using one of your workspaces or something like that. So then you can just kind of do whatever. Later on, I think it'll manifest in ways like you can, if you take one of your workspaces and you've defined like a mini game there, or you've defined certain things, you'll be able to basically just like say, hey, take this game type and make that available to anyone, and then anyone can play that game, and it'll automatically like spin up a cloud server in a sandbox using your game, stuff like that. So, but for now, to start with, I'm guessing it would probably be something more limited, where it's just like, hey, run a server for me using my sandbox. Or using my workspace in a sandbox. And so this is it. Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, a sandbox is basically just saying like I want to be able to run a copy of the game like in some system where like if the Python code in the game starts to like use too much memory, or if it intentionally tries to like mess with the system, or basically it'll be like completely locked down to where it can only basically run the game and that's it. You want to make sure it doesn't like use too much memory or use too much CPU, or like it'll probably be locked down to where it can't open any internet connections to like external sources, things like that. It'll probably have like a pre-existing connection from, well, we'll have to see the details of that, but basically it'll be able to do absolutely nothing except like play the game. And so that'll just take a little work to get that all working nicely. Just because, I want to avoid, people using that for, who knows, botnets or Bitcoin mining or whatever else. Because I want this stuff to be scalable. I want to be able to like support a lot of game servers and people playing on cloud games like as much as they want. But if it's like my servers are getting attacked and used for malicious stuff, like won't be able to do that. So that's why I want to write a really nice sandbox. Oh, that's cool. Plasma hedgehogs. That's a good term for it. It does kind of look like plasma hedgehogs. You just need little like eyes. But yeah. Cool. All right, folks. Well, let's see. Dliwk, whatever we decided the pronunciation is. So you're leaving for dinner, so have a nice dinner. Actually, maybe we should wind this down. I might get back to work on the Google Play game stuff. I also have a meeting coming up with Amazon, actually. So I have a phone conversation with them coming up soon, just to kind of check in and ask about any, I don't know, if there's anything I could be doing for servers to have cheaper bandwidth, or just like, I'm going to find out about like those new server locations, if we'll be able to like use T3 instances on them and stuff like that. But yeah, just my random check-in with Amazon. So yeah, if anybody else have any like last questions or comments or things to chat about, otherwise I was going to say cut it off early, but I don't know if this is early. I guess technically this is the normal time we cut it off. So it feels early to me since it's 11 a.m. instead of 12. Even though I guess we got a half an hour late start, so it's a shorter day than usual. Oh my goodness, yes. Late for all of you folks, or most of you folks, I guess. All right, well, everyone have a good day. I guess I can go ahead and post this on YouTube. I know we haven't, I mean, it's cool to see the mods and, chat about stuff or whatever. Yeah, it'll be up on YouTube. These long videos take a while to compress, but it'll get there eventually. So everyone have a good day, and I will talk to you all next time. So cheers.